This is the second movie after American Pickle where I was like, wow, I can't believe that such an awesome film is going straight to HBO Max and I can enjoy it at my leisure in the comfort of my own home. And then after I watched it, I was like, oh, now I see why you sent it right to HBO Max. Darn it! You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But I don't know, both look so good. And there's still some good things about this movie too. It's better than An American Pickle. Is it though? I think maybe because it has more star power, it's better. But yeah, it's HBO Max still hasn't just quite cracked the formula just yet. But anyway, all right, so Steven Soderbergh is totally to blame. It's Steven Soderbergh's fault. He keeps saying he's going to retire. He's like, any day now. And we're like, no, don't retire. But the longer he takes and the more mediocre movies that he makes, I think we're like, maybe you should retire, Steven, before you spend all the capital that you built up earlier in your career when you directed some of Hollywood's biggest and most memorable films. He also recently produced the worst Oscars ever, I think arguably creatively and definitely in terms of ratings, and that hasn't helped his legacy either. Now, no sudden move, like all of Soderbergh's recent films, is certainly watchable. I mean, he's extremely talented. It's well made, and it's like, you know, someone slacking. You know, he's slacking, for sure. It has an impressive cast who clearly trust Soderbergh's track record, but maybe they shouldn't, or at least they should have paid closer attention to who wrote the script, and that's Ed Solomon, whose own track record is so-so, but he's certainly not the screenwriter anyone would call, except I guess Steven Soderbergh and the producer, it's like Casey, somebody who produced this, to write an expose of the automobile industry masquerading as a 1950s mob thriller. That's right, that's what this movie actually is. Hard to believe. Hard for me to believe, even though I actually have seen the film. I'm like, I still can't believe that they did that. Basically, at the end of the movie, and don't worry, this isn't a spoiler, I'm not going to tell you what they say, but they throw up a title card where they're like, this is what this movie is really about. This is the whole reason we made it. And it's like, why didn't you just make that movie in the first place? It's almost like, you know when you get like a calendar, a historical calendar, and it gives like little factoids for each day? That's kind of like what they stuck up at the end of this movie. And they're like, but then we just crafted a 1950s thriller around it, you know, film noir, to trick you into learning this fact. And you're like, it's a good fact. It's a very good fact. Very interesting. It's something that I'd never heard about the automobile industry before. And I think that maybe they were like, well, no one would want to watch a Dark Waters style movie about the automobile industry. Dark Waters, by the way, was amazing. Nobody watched it, but it was really good. And that was an expose of how, I think it was DuPont, it's like Dark Waters, somewhere Mark Ruffalo's like, didn't you learn anything from my movie? I did. Companies are bad. Getting rid of industrial waste into local communities, right? And they're still doing that even today, some companies. It's horrific. But yeah, nobody watched that. So I can see the concern about doing the same type of movie for the automobile industry. Also, would any studio make such a film? Because the automobile industry advertises so heavily in movies. You see cars all the time being featured, and automobile industries pay to do that. And they certainly provide the cars free of charge. So that's a very good relationship there. And so I don't think any studio would want to jeopardize that, because the companies that they expose here, very briefly, are some big companies even today. But I mean, figure it out. Go to a streaming service or somebody who doesn't need to rely on automobile advertising, because what they did here was just silly. It was just really weird. Like, when they start to shift in that direction, you're like, what now? Like, this really came out of nowhere, and it does not fit with the movie that you so far presented. The third act, there's a big surprise cameo. It's been ruined in some places. Don't go look it up, because it's one of the few joys of the film, being like, oh, wow, how nice. But when that scene started, that's when it really went off the rails. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it was hard enough to follow the first 2/3 of the movie, because while Soderbergh's very talented, he's no Scorsese when it comes to making mob movies. And Scorsese, his hallmark, he always makes the same movie, but he's very good at it. Scorsese's hallmark is to help audiences keep track of a huge cast of characters and the hierarchy of all the different mobs that he's dealing with, while he goes through the story. Here, they kept throwing out names left and right, and I'm like, who is that again? Who do they work with? Which mob are they in? Who's playing them? Have we even seen the character yet? It was very difficult to follow. But thankfully, the performances, the actors made a mistake in trusting Soderbergh, but you can trust these actors because they just were fantastic. And they really made me care again about their characters. At points, I felt like I was watching a star-studded Broadway play. One that's actually not that good, but it's still such a treat to see huge stars work their craft and to see so many of them together. And at times, it almost felt like you were there. That's one of the things that's so great about seeing big stars on Broadway is that they're right in front of you. But here, it felt very intimate at points. Also, for some reason, Steven Soderbergh shot a lot of the movie with a fisheye lens, so at the corners of the screen, everything's like distorted. I'm like, I don't know what he was trying to say with that. It was weird, but I noticed it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't understand what he was trying to do, so whatever. Keep doing you, Soderbergh. Don Cheadle and Benicio Del Toro easily carry the film, and I really loved their characters. I cared about them. I loved the performances. It was great stuff. And then I always find it amusing that David Harbour, who is so weird in real life, always gets cast and does a great job as these middle America dad characters. It's like he's nothing like that, so he's truly an actor. Amy Seimetz is able to make a strong impression as his wife. I would love for her role to have been bigger, but then it made no sense when you figure out what they're actually trying to do here. And then Noah Jupe as their son is once again able to easily hold his own opposite adult actors. And he's getting close to being an adult actor himself, and I'll be curious to see what types of roles he ends up playing, because Hollywood likes to categorize people. He's very good. Will he be a star? Will he be a supporting? Whatever he does, I'm sure he'll do a great job with it because he's so good. Ray Liotta, Kieran Culkin, and Jon Hamm are basically called in to perform what have become their signatures, albeit briefly. And kudos to Kieran Culkin, by the way, that he is now in those ranks. He deserves to be off of his Succession performance. Now, that's if you're able to watch this, you're able to watch Succession. And if you haven't seen Succession, that's a much better use of your time. Watch seasons 1 and 2 so you're ready for season 3, which is coming up fast. Such a good show. Kieran Culkin's fantastic on it. Everyone's good on that show. But anyway, Brendan Fraser's also here, and wow, he continues to look very different at this stage in his career. I hope he's staying healthy. But he's also still a very good actor. He's excellent. And he played a similar role in Trust on FX a couple of years ago. He's basically now getting cast a lot of the time as like, mob type or powerful men's number twos, and he's great. He's really, their second in commands, and he does a great job at it. So I wish he would get more work. He's fantastic. Now, someone else who I wish would get more work is one of the standouts of the film, and that's Julia Fox, who I didn't recognize, but I looked up who she was because she did such a good job, and I was like, she's the woman from Uncut Gems, which doesn't surprise me because she did a great job there too. And I raved about her in my review of that film. She's once again playing a sexpot character with her own ambitions, and that's been a Hollywood cliche since like the beginning of Hollywood. But Fox really does a good job with it. Like, she makes it really interesting. She makes it an opportunity instead of, an unfortunate role that actresses often have to start out in before they can get better roles. But she's great. She's just did a great job. I think her dominatrix background in real life might be keeping her from getting work in mainstream films. I think she was either in high school or right out of high school when she did that, and I think there's some concern of what will happen when it comes up in the coverage of such a film, like a blockbuster. Because that's the only reason I can think she isn't getting more work, because she does such a good job. Steven Soderbergh, though, has always gravitated towards and embraced quirky characters like that, so I hope he'll cast her again. She works very well with him. And we all know he's not retiring. He's making another movie right now. She's not in it, but maybe she'll be in the next one. I hope she is. So again, No Sudden Move is certainly watchable. It's very watchable, in fact, like American Pickle. But again, as I said, I think it's a little better than American Pickle. It's, American Pickle felt like a very long sketch, and this feels like a genuine movie. But by the end of it, you'll have a hard time putting your finger exactly on what you did watch. If you need something to watch, it's good enough. And unfortunately, that's the name of the game often when it comes to streaming. So that's my review of No Sudden Move, which hits HBO Max today. Share your thoughts down below. Subscribe to HBO Max and Beyond the Trailer today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.